Hello, everyone. Welcome back to SNA's podcast, which is called Among Us. Welcome to our second episode, which is about embracing diversity. So today I have two guests with me. Can you introduce yourselves?
Sure. Hi, I'm Mr. Alex. I am the Individuals and Societies teacher for the MYP program.
Hi, I'm Nate from grade 10-1 in the year 2024.
So before we start this podcast, can you tell me a bit about the drinks that you've chosen?
Sure. My favorite drink that I have is a coconut coffee. I like it because it's refreshing, it tastes good, and it has some caffeine.
As for my favorite drink, it's just plain coffee because I think that coffee is a wonderful drink that helps people become more productive and alive.
You both like coffee. Well, I have my favorite drink today, which is milk tea. Why do you think we all chose different kinds of drinks?
I think just growing up, you have natural different tastes.
All of us are unique, and it's just that in life there's just so many choices and paths that we could take. Like I chose coffee because of my lifestyle, but not everyone have the same lifestyle as me. Maybe other people are more active, maybe other people talk to more friends, or maybe they just like sweet stuff or spicy stuff or sour stuff. It's just too many different things for us to take in.
And I think that because we all have our different choices together, when you come, you have different options. At a restaurant, they don't only have one food, they need to have a whole bunch of food. So together, us having different interests makes the world more interesting and exciting.
So I think also the situation that we're in and the background and the culture differences also leads to us having different preferences of drinks. But this is just my point of view, but what are your opinions on why people have different preferences in general?
I think just day to day, the reasons why people do things is so complicated, but just to name a couple, I think sometimes people have different interests, so they want to see different things happen. I think people want to feel a sense of belonging with the group that they're in, so they copy what the other people around them like. So that's just to name a few. Nate, what do you think?
To me, I think that preferences are influenced by both internal and external things. I think that a personality interest in what they want or like would influence their preferences. But I agree with you. I think that external things can also influence their preferences, like what culture they came from, what nationality they are, and who is in their family, and how's their living environment like.
So to conclude everything, we can all agree that differences between us as humans make the world a better place, a more beautiful and diverse place. And now you can look at the meme right there.
Well, for the text, I can notice that it's related to our topic about diversity. The penguin is scared of people judging what type of music he likes, and he doesn't play out loud.
What do you guys think the judge in this meme means?
Well, maybe that the penguin is afraid that people might judge what his music taste is like. Maybe his music taste is questionable to other people because not a lot of people listen to it that much. So he's afraid that other people might look at him differently or say things to him because of what he likes.
Maybe people will think he has certain characteristics because he listens to that kind of music. You take something like metal music. If someone's into metal, people think they'd be more aggressive.
Have you guys ever been judged on anything else before?
I have been judged a bit in classroom environment. Like I said earlier, I see myself as a person with a very good work ethics, and I really like working. Maybe someone say, go touch some grass, or what's wrong with you for working so much, or submitting deadlines 5 weeks early. So sometimes I get made fun of that.
Yeah, kind of similarly to that, I think that anytime I've played sports in my life, anytime people see you as an athlete, they automatically think you're not into anything intellectual. So everyone who plays sports is just supposed to living easy, not working hard. Maybe you don't even like showering, you don't like your fashion very much, right? And then on the other side, anytime I've done something like I was telling you before about book clubs or something more intellectual, people then don't think you like using your body and doing more physical activities. So, it's almost like people putting you in a box based on the first thing that they see.
What do you think the cause of judgment is?
I think that the cause of judgment is, like for example, because I'm very diligent in work, maybe other people, they're not as good as working as me and they think differently. Like because I'm so different, they start to judge on me.
I think for me, it's the importance of belonging, and on the other side, the fear of being left out. As a teacher, I see for a lot of high school students, this is a time in your life where you're trying to understand who you are. And so sometimes, unfortunately, being inside a group means saying that you're not part of another group. And sometimes many groups of friends will say, we do this, and because we do this, we're not like all those other people. And so the desire to say, this is my group of friends, this is my habit, makes people be prejudiced and discriminate against other people, sadly.
I think for me, judgment is caused because of like a certain group feels like you're not the same as them, like you don't share common interests with them, and they will like think that you're different and you're gross, so they start judging you, or it's because they're jealous of you or you have something that they don't. For people with certain like interests, common interests, do you think they come together or they just stay apart and judge others?
That's a great question. I think that it depends, because sometimes, let's say you have an interest, like let's say you and a group of people like singing. Sometimes internally a competition starts. You could all like singing, but then people want to be the best singers. But then in another situation, if you're surrounded by unfamiliar people, you'll stick together and say, we love singing, and all the people who aren't that good at singing are beneath us.
Well, it depends on the situation. For me, I think if people have common interests, right, it doesn't guarantee that they will like each other, because maybe their personality is different, or they, for some reason, they just cannot connect. Like, I have some friends that I talk to, right, but I don't connect them as much as I do with some other friends, despite them having the same interests as me.
Let's take an example. Asian parents expect their children to be right-handed at birth because majority of the society revolves around right-handed habits. So what do you think happens to people who are left-handed?
Yeah, they probably feel like there's something wrong with them, or they feel like they're maybe scared that their parents might be disappointed in them.
I think that they will feel left out and pressure a lot. They will start being treated different just because they use a different hand. I think that's a bit unfair for them.
What do you think?
I've met someone who was left-handed before, but her mom starts like train her with like right-handed habits, and now she's right-handed.
Right.
What do you think someone would feel if they're forced to do something that's like similar to what the majority of the other people are doing?
Well, like I mentioned before, they would feel like something's wrong with them, but then even worse, to take the example of the left hand, right hand thing, you would probably be worse at doing the thing that you need to do. So if you want to play badminton and you're naturally left-handed, but you're being forced to play right-handed, you're going to perform worse than if you did it left-handed. So it's like two bad things. First, you feel uncomfortable, and second, you're probably worse at doing the thing that you have to do. You think the same, or?
I think that they will feel sad because what they have to do in order to be accepted by society. And if they do show themselves, people do not accept them. So I think that they will feel very left out, and they feel like they are not themselves. They feel like they are a completely different person.
So to conclude, making someone who's different follow habits of people of the majority of the people will make our society less diverse. Nate, I want to ask you a question. Do you like tattoos or piercings?
I think they're nice, but like I feel like some people kind of overdo it. Like I think that tattoos are cool, but like some people kind of just cover the entire body with tattoos. I think that if they just put a small tattoo on their wrist or hand or maybe on their neck, it's cool.
Your parents don't like you having tattoos, right?
Yeah. My parents are not really supportive of tattoos, and pieces. But even if they were supportive, I wouldn't still get them because it's not really my taste in aesthetics and fashion.
There's a theory in Vietnam, there's like a stereotype in Vietnam. If your child gets a tattoo, it means that they're a gangster or something, or they're a part of
Like
something
some criminal,
bad.
yeah.
But I also think that that doesn't apply since there are different types of tattoos and different reasons for getting a tattoo.
Yeah.
So when someone gets a tattoo, someone might point out that it's criminal and such, which is labeling. What do you think that means to you?
Yeah, I think labeling means that you are taking a small piece of someone, an example of tattoo, like a piece of their skin, or maybe an action, and then you are extending it and saying the whole person matches this one piece of them. And usually it's a negative thing. It's not something good.
What I do not like about labeling or making stereotypes in general is that you're just labeling a small minority of people within that group. Like for example, maybe there are people with tattoos who are criminals and do very bad, illegal stuff. However, that does not represent all people with tattoos. So that's what I don't like the most about labeling in stereotypes. The people who did nothing is being effective in, I think that's really unfair.
A lot of the times, labeling and prejudice begins for something that does make sense. So for instance, I used to live in Korea, and I remember certain spas would have a rule that if you had tattoos, you weren't allowed to go into the spa. And this is because a lot of the times they had tattoos that identified gang members. And so at a certain time, tattoos were associated with being a criminal. However, now people get tattoos of hearts, people get tattoos of their favorite K-pop groups. It has nothing to do with criminality. So sometimes like a habit that we have as a culture stays, but then the modern times change, and the parents who were used to one way growing up, it changes, and so it kind of, even though it doesn't match the current society, people keep it up.
Well, I think that tattoos have that reputation because of maybe stereotypes and what has been carried in the past to now. Like for example, in Japan, there's a notorious criminal group called the Yakuza, and they have like these bunch of tattoos on the back that has like symbolism and other stuff. So maybe, like you say, tattoos linked to criminal groups and gangs. So maybe people saw the Yakuza and start to link it to every people with tattoos.
People with tattoos are often labeled and discriminated against, but why do you think we discriminate?
Yeah, I think it's definitely somewhere linked to our brain and how we think. I think that discrimination has definitely been there since the start of humanity, most likely. Like, could you imagine being caveman, you see a giant mammoth elephant in the distance? You don't want to come near that, and you're probably gonna get run over.
Do you think discrimination is always bad?
Yeah, I think judging is not always bad, but I think discrimination is always bad, because especially the way we popularly use discrimination today, it tends to connect to race and your gender, right? So for instance, many hiring places are discriminatory against women, right? They want a man to do the role, and so they will not interview women.
For me, I disagree. I don't think that it's always bad. I think that discrimination depends, if it's bad, I think, or not, I think it depends on why and what you're discriminating. Like for example, if I see some guy in a black hoodie in an alleyway, I definitely gonna think that he's gonna try to rob me, right? I think that's a justified reason why discriminating in that situation is fine. But if I'm like in a classroom, right, and I'm discriminating a teacher because he's a different race and don't trust him or what he is teaching, then that's definitely bad.
I think it depends on the person you're discriminating on, because you have your reasons for discriminating, and if it's a good reason, then I think it's fine to discriminate. For example, people on social media, there's cancel culture, and there are some people who get canceled because of proper reasons. And I also think it depends on the situation that it's used in.
Well, sorry, to continue on that, I think there's an important point to bring up. Discrimination, the noun, usually refers to the idea of this, but you guys are using it, I think, as a verb to discriminate. And I think that's totally fine. I discriminate whether I should get the old apple in the store or the new apple in the store. I discriminate if I should get these shoes or another pair of shoes. So discriminating as a verb, but usually the noun, I think today, most of the times people think of something with the whole system, like all jobs or all government, stuff like that. But I think in regular life, you guys are totally right. It's not always bad.
Do you think discrimination comes from labeling?
No objections either. I think that labeling is definitely the reason why discrimination happens. Like, if the stereotype of tattoos being linked to criminals, I wouldn't think a person with a bunch of tattoos walking up to me with his hands in his pocket is gonna try to beat me up.
How do you think we can stop discrimination?
That's complicated, right? Because you can't I don't think that you can get 8 billion people on this planet to stop discriminating. I think that's not possible. I think the best thing that you can do is educate new generation and children to not use stereotypes or judge people for what they like or what they look like. I think that's the best way to get rid of discrimination in the long term. Because I don't think there's any solution to get rid of discrimination instantly. I don't think that's possible.
Mr. Alex, at SNA, how do you think students are taught to be against discrimination?
Well, to add to Nate's answer, I think the first thing is learning. I think when you are ignorant that things can be different, if you're taught that everybody in the world is right-handed, and you meet a left-handed person, it's so much more shocking. So education is such an important antidote for discrimination, because you start to realize that things are so different around the world. It's one of the reasons why I love traveling so much. If you were to ask me when I was 16, 17 years old, what are people really like? I had no idea, because I had always lived in one country, always went to one high school, had friends, did the same things on the weekend. And so, in classes, one thing I really try and do is go through different periods of history, go through different peoples around the world, and talk about their ideas. So for instance, Mayan and I, our last unit where we talked about art, we talked about what were the ideals of beauty, what were the standards at different times of history, where 200, 300 years ago, the most beautiful woman we would consider overweight today. But back then, it showed that they were rich, it showed that they were healthy, it showed that they didn't have diseases. And now if you look at a lot of the ways that women are shown on posters and YouTube, you have to be so thin. So these things change all the time, and learning about it is so important to accept and understand other people.
Mr. Alex, have you seen a student being discriminated?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that students and kids, they don't want to hurt other people, but they're so focused on how they feel that they don't even see sometimes that they're hurting other people. And as a teacher, it's your role to just stop the situation sometimes and talk to a student and remind them that the words that they say made someone else feel left out, made someone else not feel smart. And usually in my experience, when a student sees that and understands that, they start to make a positive change. So,
sometimes discrimination is there, but it's really hard to see. Especially for group projects, when everyone are given the decision to choose their group mates, and sometimes some students will be left out because they're not part of any group circle of friends or part of any group friends, and they can't get into any groups.
Thank you for giving very detailed answers today. Can you each give one hashtag?
I think my hashtag that I want to choose is listen. I think that we're so lucky to be at a school where we're surrounded with so many people each day. And now that we have the chance to be together and be from people all around the world, some people older, younger, sometimes if you just take the chance to listen to what someone else is saying, your one conversation, you can completely have your mind changed on something you thought before.
I think my hashtag would be ignoring haters, because I think haters, the people who hate you, would discriminate you the most, but in the end, if you don't mind them, you wouldn't be affected by them. So if they don't affect you in 5 years, then don't care about them.
As for my hashtag, it will be hashtag proud of me. Because I think in this hashtag, I think that they should talk about what their nationality is, what are their talents, what they're good at, and basically stuff that make them unique and special. Because I think that by doing this, they will feel more confident and independent in themselves. Because in the end, it's only you who can decide should you be hurt by other people's thoughts or actions. And by being independent, confident in who you are, and having respect for yourself, I think that discrimination will not have an effect on you.
Thank you, Mr. Alex and Nate, for coming to today's podcast. And thank you for listening to this podcast. See you next time.